Hello and welcome to TV Talks, the show where we take a look at both the good and the bad of what television has to offer. Today, we're taking a look at one of Cartoon Network's biggest ever mega hits, the Powerpuff Girls. And before I get started, I want to say, please don't suggest anything for this retrospective. I already have the line out all picked out, and if you just go onto every single one of my videos requesting, do this, do this, do this, chances are that annoys me and I don't end up doing it. Just a note for the future. That's not just for one particular case, I'm just saying in general, cool it a little bit, please. At least show some respect. So, the Powerpuff Girls. I've actually never seen it before this. Honestly, I heard everyone talk about how great it was. Mr. Enter, Pie Guy Rules, Lou Tunes, all these people saying it was a great show. And I love Craig McCracken's other work, Wander Over Yonder and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. But I never saw Powerpuff Girls. When I was a little boy, I just kind of thought, it's about girls. It's Powerpuff and there's hearts and there's pink. I'm too manly for that. So I stayed away. And I didn't watch it. And then when I got older, I'm like, oh, cool, I'll watch it. But then I got really busy with theater and working for Governor Ducey and all this stuff. So, I couldn't watch it. But now that I'm here for Wishlist Week, I decided, alrighty, let's do it! And I finally did. So what's the Powerpuff Girls about, and what is its history? Well, its history is it started off as a one-shot cartoon on the What a Cartoon show, like most other cartoons. Everyone really liked it. They made it a series. Then it became a monster hit. Everybody loved it. And again, they decided to merchandise the whole thing. Merchandising. It's like the SpongeBob for Cartoon Network. The Powerpuff Girls, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, they were everywhere. And then it all came crashing down, but more on that later. What is the Powerpuff Girls about? For, I don't know, the three of you who don't know out there, even when I didn't see the show, I know. Well, sugar, spice, everything nice. These were the ingredients to make the perfect little girl. But then Professor Utonium ended up adding Chemical X because he's a dunce, and then the Powerpuff Girls were created. And they're kindergartners with no noses, no fingers, and they fight crime. That's pretty much it. But they pull it off well. You see, the Powerpuff Girls defies a lot of what you kind of expect it to be. You kind of think it is going to be some cutesy little My Little Pony show, but it's got a fair bit of adult humor, and it's got a lot of cool action. And the characters are actually pretty good. Blossom being the more level-headed one, Bubbles being the cute one, I suppose, and Buttercup, my favorite, being the more tomboyish one. But actually, the Powerpuff Girls themselves are probably the weakest aspects. I really like the villains more. Mojo Dojo, who's, we all know who he is. Him, who's basically a really effeminate-looking devil, only it turns out he's actually a horrible, brutish monster. Fuzzy Lumpkins, who's a guy who wants people to get off his property. The villains steal the show, pretty much always. Even the one-shots are great. Now also there's the Mayor and Miss Bellum, absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, the characters work really well, and they also have a lot of really great jokes. This is a later one, but there's one where the professor's telling one of the Powerpuff Girls' new friends that he created the girls by accident, and then the little girl goes, "That's okay, Professor, I was an accident too." Remember, kids show. Ha 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 ha! Yeah, that actually caught me off guard. I was not expecting that. And then there's also the animation and the action. While the girls themselves look simplistic, the villains are really well detailed, and the movements are really fluent, fast-paced, energetic, and exciting. Never is there a dull moment, at least early on in the show. And it was very good to see. I was blown away because I always heard about people talking about the stuff like this, but I never really understood it until I decided to sit down and watch it for myself. I was very much impressed. The stories are exciting, the writing is really well done, the animation is great. It's kind of hard for me to talk about it because everyone kind of talks about it. So, these first seasons get the Archibald seal of approval. What's that, you say? Just these seasons? Why not the rest of it? Well, that's where we get to the next part, where everything comes crashing down. So, Craig McCracken left to go work on the Powerpuff Girls movie. And then, when he wasn't at the helm, they brought in a bunch of people who thought they could do the series justice, and then proceeded to do exactly not that. What ended up happening was everything I praised fell apart. The characters became weak, one-note, flanderized, simple, basic, uninteresting. The animation was more polished and more clean-looking, which sounds fine, but I don't know, I thought the kind of imperfect cell animated edge kind of gave it its own style. With this, it just kind of seemed generic and flat. The action was cranked up too much sometimes because, it's not an action show, it's a comedy show, and the comedy was just not there. A lot of the times they would just kind of meander about, stretch everything out, kind of make things needlessly long like that infamous Christmas special. And sure enough, the popularity got shot in the foot. If only Cartoon Network would have learned their lesson, huh? Yeah, so it's funny. They didn't learn their lesson from Dexter's Lab. When they stretched that show out, that show became extremely unpopular, and everything just fell apart. They didn't learn their lesson. They did the same thing for the Powerpuff Girls, but they gave them even more seasons than Dexter's Revival. For whatever reason, they thought it was a good idea. And then they thought it was an even better idea to revive the show, but one monster at a time. I have no interest in seeing that, and I've heard many things about it. I heard it's not great. So, these later seasons get the Skyline Seal of disapproval. So that's all I can say about that. This was a hard one to look at because even though it was a monster hit and a very important part of the cartoon legacy, everyone talks about it already. I can't add anything new to the subject. But I felt like it was finally good to give it a look and to add my own 2 cents. What do you guys think of the Powerpuff Girls? Do you like it? Do you not? What do you think? Where do you think it started to dip? And what do you think of the movie, which I have not seen? Alright, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.